We're close, but we have not lost the country. We learned also that it was not necessary to go through these past 8 years. I don't want to rewrite history, but my point here is that the Democrats can be beat if they are approached in the right way. One of the problems that we have had to endure as voters and as citizens is that our party has not believed that. Our party has not believed the Democrats can be beat, and Donald Trump has shown how to do it. It took a political outsider, somebody with no fingerprints on anything to do with the way Washington works, quote unquote, demonstrates how you beat an opposing political party. How many times I've shared this story with you? I've had Mitt Romney come to my studio. I've had Rand Paul come to my studio. I've had Republican presidential candidate after candidate come to this studio and talk to me about their campaign, their ideas, how they want to go about winning. And each one of them, I have not mentioned all the names. It's not important. They all believe it. They all told me, we can't win, Rush, with Republican votes alone. We can't win with Republican. And I look at what do you mean we can't win with Republican? We have got to be able to cross the aisle, and we have got to be able to engage in group politics. No. I said you guys are going about this the wrong way. All you need to do is approach the American people as citizens, as the American people. To hell with what group they're in. We're human beings. We all want the best for ourselves and for our country. Now, the opponents don't look at life that way. They do look at people as victims and members of groups. But we can beat them. I've always known we could beat them. We have been validated. The things that we feel and think about our country, the direction it was going, we have been validated by virtue of what the American people did yesterday. And there is so much uplifting and positive about what happened. There is so much that is beautiful and American and Americana that is still worth believing in and still worth promoting and still worth fighting for. And all of this was demonstrated last night. There are some interesting things to ponder. All these people that donated gazillions of dollars to Hillary's foundation and Bill's foundation, buying policy, whatever they thought they were getting by donating to Hillary, what do they do now? Do they want their money back? What are they going to get for it? You realize the angst that there must be. You can see it. You can feel it. The angst, the shock, the disappointment over the entire Democrat Party, the entire left wing, and even some on our side. One of the things I kept hearing last night, you can always learn, folks, the media will always be predictable. The Democrats will always be predictable. When it was finally clear last night that Hillary was going to lose, they began to demonstrate who they really are, started talking about how it's going to be necessary for Trump to approach them. Trump's going to have to reach out to them. Trump's going to have to be inclusive. Trump's going to have to do this. Trump doesn't have to do anything. He probably will. Trump is the winner. Trump won. If Trump wanted to, he could play this the way Obama did. I won. Whatever you want to do. Well, you just got to stop listening to that Rush Limbaugh guy. That's not how things get done in Washington. That's what Obama said 2 weeks into his administration to a bunch of Republican leaders. And then everybody started saying, now, this is not an ideological election. You can always count when the left loses. It's not because of their ideology. And they came through last night. This is not an ideological election. This has nothing. This is an up and down election. This is not left and right. This is people up, people down. This is economics. Wrong, folks. It is always ideological. Big government was told to take a hike last night, just like big government was told to take a hike in the Brexit vote. Yesterday was a total repudiation of big government. It was a total repudiation of the Obama presidency and every aspect of it. It was a total repudiation of the Democrat Party by people, the people I always describe as those who make this country work, the people who define the character and who define the values of our country were the winners in what happened yesterday. And what has been going on the last 8 years was repudiated and was pushed back against and defeated. And they really didn't think it was possible with Donald Trump. They really were prepared to be embarrassed and humiliated, losing the House, losing the Senate, and yet look what happens. We hold both, so now we have the House, and now we have the Senate, and now we have the White House, and now we have no excuses. There aren't any excuses anymore. The Republican Party has been given the full reins of this government and this country. And there is a mandate behind it. There's nothing mysterious about this. There's nothing to unpack. There's nothing to try to understand. There's nothing confusing about it. It is dead, straight, simple what the American people voted yesterday and last night. And it is a full repudiation of Obamacare. It's a full repudiation of Obama economics. It's a full repudiation of our culture and the way the Democrats go about dealing with people. The way they see the country is not the way this country is. This is not a nation of victims. It is not a nation of people who are discriminated against and denied opportunity. But that's what they see when they look out and see America. Did you hear what Van Jones said? I have a question. I'm sure this question is going to be controversial as it can be, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Van Jones at CNN, we even have the audio soundbite. Let me find this. I didn't know it. Number 8, listen to Van Jones. He is the resident communist. Well, one of many resident communists at CNN. He was in the first Obama administration until he was shamed out of it. And he was on their special coverage last night talking about Trump being on the way to winning. This is what he said.
This was a white lash. This was a white lash against a changing country. It was a white lash against a black president in part. And that's the part where the pain comes. And Donald Trump has a responsibility tonight to come out and reassure people that he is going to be the president of all the people who he insulted and offended and brushed aside.
So you see how this works. Trump has got to bend fences. Trump has to approach us. Trump has to come to us, the offended, the aggrieved, the disadvantaged. Trump has to approach us. Donald Trump has just schooled everybody on how you win. It is everybody else should be approaching Donald Trump. But here's my question, folks. Van Jones of CNN says that this is a white lash. What is he complaining about? He's complaining that white people voted their interests. To Van Jones and to a lot on the left in the Democrat Party, white people voting their interests, dangerous and not legitimate. That fact alone, as far as Van Jones is concerned, and probably many others on the left, disqualifies Trump's victory in their minds. And it's what scares the heck out of them to boot. A white lash. Why is it not legitimate to honestly discuss the white vote? White people are still the majority in America. There are massive demographic shifts taking place, but white people are still the majority. Somebody needs to tell me why it's wrong for white people to vote their interests, when it's not wrong for African Americans to unify and monolithically vote their interests. Women monolithically unify, vote their interests. That's how the Democrat Party wins. All of these different constituency groups think, act, and vote alike. And when they do it, they call it progress. They call it overcoming. They call it other things that I frankly find despicable. But when white people do it, it's not permitted. When white people do it, it's not good. When white people do it, it's bad. So exactly when did it happen that all white people became bigots? When did it happen? Because it has happened in the minds of the left in this country and in the minds of the Democrat Party. That is exactly the case. Donald Trump just defeated everything you stand for. That's what happened last night. And we didn't need this guy to win in 2008. He could have been defeated. The Democrat Party agenda was creamed last night. Every way they choose to characterize their loss is going to be wrong until they admit that what they stand for was rejected. Their policies, their agenda was told to take a hike last night by all kinds of people. The average black construction worker in Michigan, the legal Mexican mechanic in Texas, has a lot more in common with the average white American laborer than, say, some elitist Obama family of Martha's Vineyard vacationers. This was a coalition of all colors and stripes and backgrounds that came together last night to send this policy regime packing. Look, I can't sit here and let this stand. Barack Obama, I know what he just said. He said, we're all rooting for Trump's success. The peaceful transition of power is one of the hallmarks of our democracy. He said he's going to follow the example the Bush White House set for him in working with Trump in the transition. He said, remember, we're all on the same team. Yeah, I'm sorry. Barack Obama has not treated us as though we are on his team in these 8 years. And that is precisely the point. This has been an us versus them administration by design. By design. That's who they are. Barack Obama said some things about America's next president that are going to be very hard to take back. Don't care how gracious you are when you accuse the president-elect of being the president of the KKK. And Barack Obama was out there as a attack dog. He was a pit bull, just like the media was a bunch of pit bulls when it came to Trump. Now they're going to become, they're leg-humping poodles here when they deal with Democrats, but they're going to become pit bulls when dealing with Trump. You know it, and I know it. This election was not about, I'm sorry, Mrs. Clinton, you didn't lose because you're a woman and the nation is sexist. You didn't lose because the American people don't want a woman to crash through the glass ceiling. You lost because your ideas were rejected. You lost because your ideas have been on display for the last 8 years and people don't want any more of it. It's not complicated here. This election was not affected by a bunch of white people deciding to take their country back because of their race. It had nothing to do with that, but the Democrats believe firmly that it was. This election was about the direction of the country. 70% of the people in this country told the pollsters, who refused to listen. The pollsters refused to see the crowds. The pollsters refused to assign legitimacy to anything having to do with Trump, including his voters. The pollsters have made the biggest mess of their business in the history of their business. Every pollster except three, got this totally wrong because of their own closed-mindedness, because of their own bigotry. The people voting for Donald Trump have been there since July of last year. What they think has been out there since July of last year. Who they are and what they care about. You can learn about it. You can know it since July of last year. They weren't interested because they assigned bigotry to every damn one of them. They assigned racism to every one of them. They assigned sexism to every one of them. And they disqualified every Trump supporter on that basis and said, there's no way these people can win. There's not that many of them. And we don't have to pay them any attention, and we don't have to show them any respect. And you see what happens. This will only last for 2 weeks, by the way. Every time the left loses, they'll go through 2 weeks of apparent introspection where they will admit they're out of touch and admit they missed things. And after 2 weeks, it's all over, and they go back to their arrogant supremacy and superiority act and start impugning and criticizing and ripping to shreds everybody and everything that's not them. So enjoy it for these next 2 weeks while the game is played again, just like it was after 2002, just like it was after 2000, 2004, 2008. Every time they lose, they go through this introspection for a couple of weeks to make everybody think that there's learning and studying, and then they revert to who they really are, which is arrogant, contemptuous, and condescending of us. The Democrat Party was told to go take a hike. The agenda of Barack Obama was told to go take a hike. It was specific. People voted against what is happening in the country. They don't like the direction the country is going. The crowds at Trump's rally were real. They were based on issues. Trump was substantive. These people never took the time to actually listen to what Trump was saying. They were too busy being offended that Trump was saying offensive things about people in protected groups because of political correctness. So they never really even took the time to listen to what he was saying. They'd already made up their mind he's a bigot. They already made up his mind he's gauche and boorish and embarrassing, and it never bothered them an iota that they never really knew what he was saying and standing for. And that's why they're shocked. Last night and today. They can't understand it. They can't understand why this country would vote for such a reprehensible scum human being. That's not how Trump's voters see him at all. They see Trump as the embodiment of what they believe. And what they believe is this country should not ever be in decline. This country should not ever look past in its future to its past and say, those were the good old days. America's best day is tomorrow and next week and next month. That's what everybody living in this country wants it to be, and they don't want to be led by people who don't see the country that way. They don't want to be led by people who see the country as populated by a bunch of incapable, incompetent, sad sack victims. This has always been a nation of doers. This is a nation of people who can and want to do. Here's something else that you can make book on. It is going to happen. The left, the Democrats, are going to start caterwauling about the Electoral College and that it has to go. It may not happen today, but it's going to happen. Because it looks like Hillary barely won the popular vote, and that's because of the state of California and the state of New York. But Trump won the Electoral College. But this whole thing is a great illustration of the brilliance of the Founding Fathers, by the way, and the system they devised to make things equal around the country just in terms of representation and proportionalism, regardless population centers. But the left does not accept that the founders of this country gave us a republic of sovereign states. And they are going to, they're going to make a move to eliminate the Electoral College because of this, because they're going to present this as they've been screwed again, like in 2000. And the reason they're going to do this, don't listen to Hillary saying we've got to give Trump an open mind. We owe it to Trump to work with him. Obama's saying the same thing. Folks, they don't mean this. Please listen to me. This happens every time they lose. They do not mean it. They sound magnanimous, but they're not. They are seething with rage, and they're already plotting how they can delegitimize this Trump victory. And this is the way they're going to do it, by claiming he's illegitimate. They're going to make a move to get rid of the Electoral College, not because they want to get rid of the Electoral College, although they might, it's because it's a vehicle for them to try to portray the Trump victory as illegitimate, just like they did to George Bush in 2000.